Happy Sunday, Tampa Bay. We're with you for another week here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show to talk about the Tampa Bay real estate market like we are every Sunday at 10 o'clock. When we aren't on air, make sure to follow us on all of our socials. We are at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, pretty much every social media channel. And to get a free home value estimate, make sure you check out DuncanDuo.com. Again, DuncanDuo.com. And I'm actually excited to have a new guest with me today that I haven't had on the show today, Kelli Lawrence with Onyx+East. And we're going to talk a little bit about what brought you guys as a developer builder to Tampa, and specifically like where you guys are from and how that connects to me, which is kind of a cool story. Considering where I grew up, and Kelli, you guys originated and are kind of founded and built in Indiana and then moved here. And that's where I was born and raised. So I moved here after graduating from IUPUI, which is, I think you guys are you guys HQ'd in Indianapolis?
We are.
Okay,
right
cool.
Downtown, very close to IUPUI.
So right by, so it's funny. So I played college basketball at IUPUI my freshman and sophomore year. Ron Hunter was the coach of IUPUI at the time, and now he coaches at Tulane. Mm-hmm. But he coached at IUPUI for a really long time.
Stretch of time at IUPUI,
So I played there, and I remember running through Indianapolis as part of our training. Our assistant coach at the time, Kevin Jones, was an ex-Marine, and we would run through Indianapolis like we were in boot camp. Like we'd have chants and all this stuff. And so I drove back through not long ago, and it is remarkable how much Indianapolis has grown as a city. Like how much more advanced it is, this city, how big it is. And from when I went to college there, 25 years ago. So obviously a pretty cool place to be headquartered, and kind of cool, kind of near and dear to me because that's where I grew up. But what was it that brought you guys, to Florida? Obviously you guys have a development that you're working on off of State Road 60 out in East Hillsborough County. Looks like it's going to be an incredible single-family home community, and obviously, there are a lot of builders and developers looking at Florida and in Tampa Bay specifically. What was it about our area that you guys said, okay, this is where we want to be?
Sure. Yeah. As you mentioned, we really got our genesis in downtown Indianapolis and seeing the need for urban, walkable, livable housing that wasn't being met by most of the larger builders in the market. And so as you talked about downtown Indy and the vibrancy of it, we know housing is such an important part of vibrancy. And so, again, that's kind of how we got our founding 15 years ago in Indy. And looking for markets to expand, we really wanted that urban context. So places that are vibrant, that are walkable, but are underserved in terms of what housing is being built. And so we really looked at Florida. Obviously, there's a lot of growth in Florida. It's a great balance to the steady Midwest, which is more of a steady growth market. And really liked the dynamics in Tampa, in both urban Tampa and urban St. Pete, where we've built several communities. Yeah. The one we're going to talk about today that we're having our grand opening is actually our 8th community here in the Tampa St. Pete area. But really liked, again, what we saw in terms of the great neighborhoods, the densifying urban area, and just the overall growth story here in Tampa. And so we actually worked with some local partners here early on as we were getting to know the market. That was 6 years ago in our first few projects. And then we've built our team over the time here. And
that's awesome.
Now have a fantastic, very experienced team in the market. We have our own office and design center in the Ybor area.
Which I've driven by before. I remember seeing it. And it's interesting because like those Midwestern roots, I always joke that like everyone that lives here is from somewhere else. Like you hear, I hear a lot of Florida, which is a lot of New York, but there's a lot of Midwest here. And so, I've had obviously a lot of people through the years that grew up where I grew up and have moved here. And I think it's just a kind of a gradual thing. The community you guys are working on now, one of the things that I thought was, really kind of differentiating compared to some of your other communities was this a little bit more in the suburbs, right? And so I agree with you that it is underserved because a lot of the focus on walkable and some of the things that you guys have kind of pioneered, it's a little more challenging in a suburban area, but there's definitely a demand for it. There's no question.
Yeah, completely agree. And so as we've grown as a firm and we've expanded what we do, we recognize that there are these great suburban areas, the first-ring suburbs, where there's huge demand for housing. There's a demand for it to be denser, to fill in the missing pockets of housing. And that's really what we do well. We don't have to do 500 homes in a neighborhood. Actually, we look for smaller opportunities where we can fill a gap and find an amazing land opportunity that is connected to all of those great amenities. And as we've watched, people's desires for housing change over the last several years, we are seeing demand growing in the suburbs and especially those near-in suburbs. So while we still love being in the urban center and we'll continue to do that, we are definitely expanding our company into these first-ring suburban areas that have been underserved really in this type of housing, the type of housing that
no
we
question.
do.
Yeah, and I think, again, if you look at East Hillsboro for us, we always, it's funny, our internal team, we call East Hillsboro Brain Rico View. It's like we combine Brandon, Valrico, and Riverview, call it Brain Rico View.
I asked where we call it the same thing.
Yeah,
I said,
Brain Rico View.
What do we call it today? Because it is connected to so many different communities that each have great aspects to them and are great places to live.
Well, and I think there's a heavy military concentration too that a lot of people not from here don't realize. We have not just the base and the people that work at the base, but veterans. And I think that Eastern Hillsboro corridor is heavily concentrated with soldiers and veterans. It's still an area of town they can afford. The commute has gotten better with the expressway, and obviously as we grow, I hear grumblings about our growth and the commutes and the infrastructure, and that's certainly something as a real estate broker I can't really control. But nonetheless, it's an ongoing thing. But that is a target. Do you guys have plans to kind of market that community to any specific consumer, or is the military, veterans, active duty, is that kind of a target for you, or what is your targeted customer look like for buying in the community you guys are working on in Brandon?
Sure. So the community, the name is Vivier. Yep. And really it's targeted towards people that are looking for a more simplified lifestyle, that connected lifestyle. And, again, we see that being a very broad demographic group. We see first-time buyers that want lower maintenance, want the first home experience to be new construction and some of the benefits that come along with new construction, all the way to empty nesters who are looking to simplify their life, again, want to be close to the things that are important to them, and everyone in between. I think that, again, our focus is really on the lifestyle that we can deliver. And so we are close to all of the major job centers, easy access to the highway system, but we're also walkable to the public library, to the high school, to the YMCA, to shopping, to restaurants. Yeah. So you can, in a suburban area, have that more urban lifestyle at this location, which is what made us so excited.
Yeah, and I think that's what's continuing to happen more and more as we do build and develop, outside of kind of the urban core. As you get into the suburbs, you're starting to see more of that. And I think in Tampa, one of the first places that I think really at least on the outskirts, the two places that come to mind for me on the outskirts of Tampa Bay that kind of really focused on that would be Lakewood Ranch, which started as just a small community and it just kept expanding and expanding. Now it's obviously very walkable. And I think Fishhawk Ranch has some of that as well, with its own little town center and walkability. And I think that's there are a lot of communities that desire to have kind of some of those same things. So speaking to you guys, pedigree in Tampa, how many units have you guys developed and constructed in Tampa? So people know that if they're looking at Vivier, they know that there's a track record and a background, and this isn't you guys' first rodeo. Yeah,
as I mentioned, we've been here 6 years. This is our 8th community. We've built over 300 homes in the Tampa Bay area. So this project has 82 homes. So it is our largest in the Tampa Bay market, and we're hoping to continue to do larger projects, again, moving further into the suburbs where there's a little more land available than, an acre in the urban area.
And focused on single family homes, but I think you guys have done some other stuff as well.
We do a lot of townhomes.
Yeah.
Townhomes are
especially in like the urban core, because the land density. It's like if you're going to be able to, and that's honestly what some of the cities want, because they know there's a shortage of housing. They're, especially in Pinellas, Pinellas probably more so than Tampa, not showing any hate to Tampa, but Pinellas is a lot more comfortable with allowing rezoning and allowing townhomes to happen in areas where Tampa is still a little behind the times with some of the approvals for townhomes to be in single family home communities. But St. Pete, it's definitely something you see a lot of.
Yeah, we've done mostly townhomes. So again, being more urban focused, there's just limited land in the urban area. And so I think a lot of cities and municipalities are recognizing, like, to efficiently use land and be good stewards of land, they need to add density to really meet the housing need in all of those areas.
Yeah, no question. I think townhomes, and again, you also targeted a consumer that either as an empty nester doesn't want the maintenance, right? Or as a first-time home buyer, same thing, doesn't want the maintenance. And townhomes kind of apply to that because there is a little bit less of that while still having a fee simple, owning land, owning your structure, not being in condo ownership. So have you guys done condos at all, or have you stayed clear of condos?
We see kind of our target customer really does want that fee simple ownership.
Cool.
And also I think in the condo maintenance fees can scare people away from home ownership to some degree, and so really we've focused on
especially with everything going
homes.
on in insurance right now.
Correct.
For us. The condo ownership has gotten more expensive, and in my opinion, that's probably one of the only saturated portions of our real estate market right now where we're probably more of a buyer's market than a seller's market. If you look at single family residential homes for sale, we're 3 months, give or take, in most of our neighborhoods throughout Tampa Bay. But when you get into condos, you start to look at 6 and 7 months of inventory, which starts to steer towards a buyer's market. And it's because, again, cost of ownership has gone up. The fee structures and in essence, you're giving away some of that asset. You're giving away some of the control of that asset to an elected board that may not be business people sometimes, unfortunately. So that is, I think, one of the things that's a downside of our real estate market would be that condos are a little harder to sell right now. And when I say condos are a little harder to sell, it's probably up to a certain price range. When you get above a price range, when you're talking 7-figure, $2-3 million condos, that crowd isn't. The rising HOA fees, the rising HOA fees aren't really having much of an impact. In the right building, someone's going to pay the premium because they want to be in that building. Whereas it's really more of a, it's really cramping the mid-level consumer more than that. So we're going to continue our conversation with Kelli from Onyx+East. We're going to talk some more about new construction. I want to talk about the benefits of new construction too. And Vivir. I want to get into why you guys. I'm a marketing guy, right? So I also am a partial Spanish speaker. So my girlfriend is Cuban, so I've learned like certain words, and I know that means to live, right?
Correct.
So we'll probably talk a little bit about that because I think there's. That's one of the things that I love most about real estate is the creative ability to market. And so marketing a community and naming it that, I kind of want to get to a little the root of, why did you guys choose that? I think I might have some guesses, but we'll get to that after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. So we hit your So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market with Kelli Lawrence from Onyx+East, talking about new construction building, development. A lot of that happening in Tampa Bay. You guys obviously have built over 300 homes in multiple communities throughout Tampa Bay. And you have a new community out in East Hillsborough. I think is it in Brandon? Is it Brandon city limits or is it Valrico?
It's Valrico.
It is Valrico. Okay.
Right on the Bloomingdale corridor. Yeah.
So you guys have this new community. It's obviously a time right now where there's a need for new housing. I've spoken on the show so many times that I'm a strong proponent of new construction, especially for two large segments of the population: the younger first-time home buyer, and then the empty nester that's ready to retire. Right? Simply because there's less maintenance, there's less obstacles, the insurance costs are lower, there's more features, higher quality construction. All of those things are reasons why new construction makes sense, I think, for the consumer. And so you guys have this new community, and it's called Vivir. Now, I know what that means in Spanish. What was it that kind of had you come up? Because you guys have had some other unique names of communities that you guys have come up with. But what was it about that area and that community that got you guys to come up with Vivir?
Sure. So you mentioned it means to live in Spanish, and that so it really reflects the lifestyle that we want people to have at this really unique location. Again, thinking about the suburbs, you think about driving. That's what most people think about. And this is an opportunity to have a completely different lifestyle experience in the suburban area, to really live and be close to all the things that make living fun, enjoyable, and promote wellness, which we know is really important for people and home buyers in particular right now. And so that idea of living your fullest life was really the inspiration for the community.
That's awesome. And I know, because in my business, I have multiple Spanish speaking agents. I know that's also an area where you obviously have a lot of Spanish speaking customers. And I think that, again, I've seen this trend where other builders and developers have done that. And it's just a good strategy because you are essentially, aligning yourself with a Spanish speaking audience when a community is named something Spanish, right? So, there's even local builders that have Spanish names now that have a communities where and again, it's smart. And it's something that I believe is underserved, truthfully. Like even in my own business, I think I have 4 Spanish speaking agents. And, and I have a constant need for more Spanish speaking agents and it isn't that most of our Spanish speaking clients are bilingual. So they speak English. It's a comfort level. It's a cultural comfort level that we find. So we're constantly on the hunt, for Spanish speaking real estate agents. So if you're listening, please apply, join theduo.com. We would love to interview some more Spanish speaking agents and sell some homes in Vivier. What's the price range of the homes that you guys are building right now?
Sure. So the homes start in the low 400s, so around 430 all the way up to about 530. And then we have a range of options that you can choose from to customize within those price ranges. We have 4 floor plans, but they're customizable in that, they can range from 3 bedrooms to 5 bedrooms.
Okay.
So there's a lot of options within the community. I think one of the things that differentiates what we're doing, especially at this location and at this price point, is people can have a full design center experience with us.
Which is rare for a 430,000 new construction. Like we saw a lot of new construction. We've worked with the large builders. We have them come in and talk to our team, and so a design center experience in that price range, because the average price point in Tampa Bay is about $480. So you're still the price range that you're building is kind of right in that middle range.
Right. And that was really important to us as we were conceiving the project and what that home buyer experience was going to feel like. We recognize we build hundreds of homes a year. Many people only build 1 or 2 in their whole life. And so we want them to have that experience even at what is an attainable price point. And so home buyers can come to our design studio. They can select their lot. They can select the floor plan and the options within that floor plan. And then they can design every feature of their home, every fit and finish of the home that meets their style. So we offer, home buyers that opportunity, which again, as you mentioned, is I think
is uncommon.
Is very uncommon
in the price range. Yeah, for sure. Because it's typically more of we're going to pick everything, and then you're going to have some smaller or limited
choices.
What's timeline for the community in terms of pre-selling, sales, and then completion?
Sure. So we're grand opening our model homes right now. So they'll be open this week. We'd love for people to come tour and see what we're doing at Vivier. And really launching sales now that our model homes are open. We do have homes that will be available in the next 30 to 60 days.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
So if you need a more immediate availability, we have that, or you can do the full design process, and that's about a 6-month timeline.
That's awesome.
To choose your lot and build the home. So we're trying to meet everyone where they're at in their home buying journey. We recognize while the design center is a great feature, some people that's overwhelming for too.
They'd almost rather just plug right in and have you pick something because maybe it's too much for them. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk more. We're going to give out your location so that if there are people out there thinking about it, and we'll be back after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. I have Kelli Lawrence with Onyx+East. We're talking about their new community, Vivier, out in East Hillsboro, in Valrico. And you mentioned something on our break that I thought was important to talk about. And I did a show not long ago where I talked about the pros and the cons of new construction. Obviously, a lot of pros. One of the cons in some communities is that you're dealing with construction forever. Like it's just constant. You're waking up on Saturday morning and hearing the beep, 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 or the noise from construction or jackhammers or the dirtiness of the streets. And, you mentioned that you guys being a smaller builder compared to some of the large nationally publicly traded enormous companies that build in communities for a decade, when you guys are building these 80, home communities, you're not in them for so long that where the consumers that buy into them are dealing with construction for years.
Correct. Yeah. And that's one of the benefits here of Vivier, especially is, the connectedness of the road network. All of the streets are in, all of the lots are ready to go, given the size of the community. So yes, from a home buyer standpoint, the construction disruption is going to be a lot shorter in duration, maybe a 2-year window if you're one of our first buyers. So again, it's a lot less of the hassle that can come with moving into a larger master plan community.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends that live in $1 million homes in neighborhoods in Tampa Bay, very well-known neighborhoods in Tampa Bay, and are still dealing with constant construction, like, dirty roads and noises and materials just left in the middle of the street. And, they have this expectation, and now they bought this home and they bought this high-end luxury home, and now they're dealing with that. So the expedience of that, I think, is crucial for people to know that it isn't some part of a master plan community where it's going to be that way forever. It's 82 homes, so it'll be relatively quickly. And you mentioned 6 months to build. If someone picks a lot and they go through the process, it's 6 months to build. That is fast compared to some of the other. We've got some right now that are stretching 8 and 9 months. So 6 months is a good pace, but I also think it's, again, kind of going back to your size, that ability to be a little quicker with things when you're not as big and have as many, bureaucratic hoops to jump through.
Right.
So
that's what being a, I'd say, small to mid-sized builder allows us to be more nimble, allows us to really.
And I would say mid-sized, definitely not small. I don't want to give the impression to our listeners that you guys are a small builder, because I know a lot of small builders that build 12, 15, 18 homes a year. They're infill, custom home builders, or they have a small little crew. Hundreds of homes built and 82 homes. That your guys are a medium-sized builder for sure.
Yeah, but we like to make sure that we can move, we want people to have the time they need in the process, but also move them through so that they can get to that completed home in the 6-month window.
That's awesome. And so where is specifically the location of Vivier so that people that are thinking about buying new construction homes, they have the opportunity to go and check them out?
Sure. So the community is located at the northwest corner of Bloomingdale Avenue and Lithia Pinecrest Road. The address itself for our model home is 3306 Tybee Square Boulevard.
Yeah, perfect.
It is a brand new street, and if you've used Google on new streets,
it may not show up. Yeah.
So our Onyx+East.com is our website, and you can find a map and more information about that location and our others in the market as well.
And so if you're thinking about buying this new construction home and you have a home to sell, we're your guy, right? So I'm applying for the job right now. We're going to do an interview. I'm going to apply for the job that if you have people coming in, they need to sell before they buy. We would love that opportunity. We do obviously work with some other builders, and that's one of the things that we uniquely are positioned to do, is because we do have access to hedge funds, cash offers, quick type stuff for consumers, as well as the path, with really high success ratings and results over 20 years, $3 billion in sales to help someone sell their home quickly. Because I know that is something you guys run into, where you guys have a home that you're building that someone's moving into, and they can't close on it until they get their home sold, right? That is something that I'm sure you guys have been challenged with before, for sure.
We have, and we really value our realtor partners. It's so critical in all the markets that we operate in. We recognize the importance that you on your side bring to the whole transaction and helping buyers navigate the journey. Obviously, we're happy to walk alongside them throughout the process, and we do. But we know the realtor is also so important in selling, if they're coming from an existing home or even if they're a first time buyer,
right?
And need that confidant that is their representative. So we really value that.
And Kelli, we talked about this early in the show, and I figure we'll go a little old school. Andrew Duncan here. For the people who have been listening, this is the 10th. I think this is my 10th or 11th year of hosting this show on Sunday at the same time frame. So I've got a lot of loyal listeners, people that have been listening to this show forever and supporting my business for a long time. But I grew up where you guys are headquartered, right? So I grew up just south of Indianapolis, in between Indianapolis and Bloomington. I went to Martinsville High School. Graduated in 1996, went to IUPUI from 96 to 2000, and then moved here in 2000. Did you also grow up in Indiana, or did you grow up somewhere else and then somehow get implanted into Indiana when you guys, kind of launched?
I grew up in Northwest Ohio, so I've been Midwestern my whole life, but I ended up at Ball State.
Okay.
So not too far from
I have
Indianapolis.
been to some parties at Ball State.
There's some pretty good ones there.
I've been to, so it's funny. I had a buddy that went there and played football. But yeah, I've been to Muncie a few times. I remember I was a basketball junkie. So I remember Ball State had Bonzi Wells.
Yes, that was when I was there. I was there the same time
around
you
same
were
time.
at IUPUI.
So
we were there.
I played against Bonzi. He was a little older than me, I think, maybe a couple years. So I'm 45, and I want to say he was maybe a year or two. He might have been a year or two before me, but I remember playing against him in AAU basketball, and then he went to Ball State, and he put Ball State's basketball program on the map because during the time you were there, they were really they won. They made the tournament. It was
a lot of fun to be a student during that time. Yeah.
And then he went to the NBA. So yeah, I've followed. Small world. I remember playing. I had tournaments in Muncie all through high school, but yeah, what a small world. And how long have you lived in Tampa Bay?
I live in Indianapolis.
Oh, you still do live in Indianapolis?
So I still live in Indy. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So you come down.
I come down.
But you have all of your.
We have a full team
okay,
here.
Cool.
So we have a full team here. That's really making things happen day to day. Awesome. We have land development, construction.
Cool.
Our
For
own
some
brokerage.
reason, I thought you'd moved here, but no.
I'm here often. I like it's kind of my second home.
Yeah, there you go. I understand.
I do.
That.
I love the Tampa Bay area.
In fact, I mentioned this to you in the break. Like I go back and forth. So my mom lives with me full time, and then vacations with my brother is basically how we describe it. So she's with me about 75% of the time, with him about 25% of the time. And so, she is there right now in Martinsville, which is an hour south of Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. And so out in the country, out in the middle, my brother's got acreage, mm-hmm. and he's out in the middle of nowhere. And so my mom is there, and then I go and pick her up, and we're going to the Indy 500, which a really kind of cool story. A lot of the listeners know this because I talked about it. I actually got to race one of my cars on the St. Pete Grand Prix IndyCar track this year.
Oh, wow.
So LPT Realty, the cloud-based brokerage I'm with, sponsors the St. Pete Grand Prix. And so I'm one of their, top agents and, friends with the founder. And, I'm the largest Tampa team within LPT. So every year I get to bring, and I'm a car junkie, so I have a bunch of cars. And so I get to bring one of my cars on the track. Well, anyway, at the last minute, my brother calls me and he says, "Hey, you know that was the last race that Dad got to go to was the IndyCar race in St. Pete before he passed." And so my dad was in a wheelchair towards the end, and he had emphysema, and he was not in good shape. But we carted him. I mean, we pushed him through the heat. He's there. He's loving it. And so I actually was able to spread some of his ashes this year on the IndyCar track at St. Pete. So we're going back to the Indy 500, and we're going to do the same thing. We're gonna spread some ashes around it because my dad was an IndyCar fanatic. So I grew up in Martinsville, but up until fourth grade, we literally lived in Speedway across the street from the track. Yeah, literally we could see and hear the track from the home. My parents would actually rent out their yard for parking every year. They'd make extra money. And so we went to the race every single year. We went to qualifying. They did a day, and I don't know if they do it now, but my parents had a van, and they did a day where you could pay for a vehicle, one vehicle, and as many people could fit in the vehicle. We would load 20 people in that van, and we'd pay $50 to go for a day of qualifying or whatever. So we're taking my mom this year to the Indy 500 next weekend. We're going to do the same kind of thing. So it'll be a really cool experience because I'm a car junkie, a racing fan, and then having done that with my dad and then being able to take my mom to it, it'll be a pretty cool experience. So yeah, I still go back to Indy myself. I'm rooting for the Pacers right now.
Yes.
And I'm sure that probably keeps Indy quite vibrant because Indiana is a basketball town. Like I still watch and play. Like I play three days a week still, a ton of basketball. And Tampa doesn't have the basketball culture that Indiana does. It's completely different.
Right.
Like,
Indiana is known for basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, it's from
high school basketball games packed.
From grade school all the way through, the collegiate level, and the Pacers obviously are doing so phenomenally. We're thrilled.
Young
with
team, I think they're going to be good for a long time.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's
they're
so fun
very
to
balanced.
watch.
And they're not so like a lot of the teams are really specific with one star player. They're very balanced. I mean, they have like 7 guys, I think, averaging double figures. And so, yeah, it's a fun team. It's an exciting team to watch. So I'm hoping that I don't think I'm going to be able to pull off, I'm hoping they pull off the upset versus the Knicks because then they go into the next round and I'll be able to see a game in Indy because I don't think I'll be able to pull off tomorrow or Tuesday in New York, I think it would be. So, I'll be watching.
Tomorrow,
are you going to the game?
I am.
That's
I'm thrilled,
awesome.
And I'll be at the racetrack actually
that's
tomorrow
awesome.
as well.
Very
So
cool.
it's
you'll be there. You'll be at the racetrack tomorrow for qualifying.
I will for qualifying.
Okay,
so
cool.
yeah, it's the whole month of May, as you know, growing up in the area. I mean, the Indy 500 is really the entire month of May, full of festivities. So it's
there's another race too. There's the 500. That's Indy cars, but I think there's a race maybe the day before that's like the smaller sprint cars too. They do. There's all
there are a
kinds of stuff
number of
going
races.
on. Yeah.
I know there was a race this last weekend that was another variation of it. So it's the number of events and activities, and then now with the Pacers going on at the same time, we have the Olympic swimming trials coming to Indy this summer. So a lot of really big things happening there.
So I just went not long ago on one of my last visits. I walked around the campus at IUPUI, and like when I went there. It was still a large school, but it was and it's still commuter, but it has grown so much. It is a much bigger campus. It has grown so much compared to what it was when I was there.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of student housing built to kind of make it also a residential campus as well as the commuter campus. So it's grown.
Because when I went there, there was no student housing. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was almost all apartments and people living at home, and there was very, very little student housing. In fact, one of my favorite things about going to IUPUI, and I'm not sure if it's even still there, the National Institute of Fitness and Sport, they call it NIFS. Okay, so that's where my college team would practice and do individual workouts and weights. And I loved going to school there because I could go to NIFS during the NBA season and always see NBA players. Mm-hmm. They would be there working out. They would be there doing individual. I have so many stories when I was in college because I played my freshman and sophomore year. And then, so I didn't play after that. I got hurt and I didn't want to play anymore. And so my junior and senior year, I worked, but I still went and would play pickup basketball. And you'd see so many NBA players at NIFS. So if you ever do go to Indianapolis and you want to run into NBA players, get a NIFS membership, pay for a day. If a team is in town, they're either going to practice there or work out there. So, I remember running into the Bulls. I saw Michael Jordan there. I saw Scottie Pippen there. So it was like a really cool. They had their entourages and security.
Yeah, we have such a compact downtown in Indy that you do see when we have the NFL Combine. Same thing. You see NFL players everywhere.
NIFS was my that was my icon moment. Well, anyway, we're gonna wrap up with our last segment after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. Kelli Lawrence from Onyx+East, building a community in Valrico from my hometown, my hood in Indiana. but now, building a nice business. You guys have done a lot of projects. You built out a nice name for yourselves in Tampa Bay. And so this community you guys are building, Vivir in Valrico, we talked about it before, in the mid 400s, 430 to 530 range with some options and upgrades, different floor plans and elevations, but an 82 unit, intimate, small community, so not taking forever. What are some of the amenities going to be in that community specifically?
Yeah, so even within a smaller community, we really focused on how do we use the open spaces that we have. And so part of what we did too in bringing our urban flavor to this development is to focus on that front porch living experience. So while every home has a 2-car attached garage, we do have alley loaded homes. So again, really bringing that community feel to the streetscape. We have some great pocket parks and amenity areas within the community. So homes fronting onto large green spaces, a rec area with a playground. We have a grand oak park, so a beautiful grand oak tree that we've saved in the center of the community that we've designed with some hammocks, a really beautiful place to relax in the center of the community. Some grilling stations, a fire pit area, and a dog park. So we have a lot within that area.
The dog park is probably one of the most important parts. Like I think there are a lot of people in Tampa Bay that their pets are their children, and I'm one of those. So my 20-year-old is already off to college. So I don't have kids at home, but my dog has become like my child, right? And so the dog parks I think there's a lot of communities in Tampa that underserve the pets,
right.
We know
our
pets, best friends.
They are a valued member of all of our families for sure, and want to make sure they have a space to recreate as well. So we've intentionally designed that into the community. And
you guys have homes for sale ready to move in now, as well as some that will be 30 days, 60 days, all the way to if someone wants to start from scratch and pick every single thing about the house, a 6-month process.
Right. So we can meet people wherever they are in their home buying journey. We have 2 fully decorated model homes that we'd love to show off to everyone listening to the show, as well as homes that will be completed in the next 30, 60 days. And as you said, you can start from scratch and design a home just to meet your style.
That's awesome. And it's interesting because you mentioned the model homes. This is one thing, so home sellers that are listening to this, and let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, I'm not interested in new construction. I'm not going to buy new construction. That's one thing I think so many home sellers could learn from new construction builders is tour a model home if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, because that's the vibe you need to have. I can't tell you how many times we walk into homes that are being sold by customers or by other agents where they don't get that advice, or we give the advice and the customer doesn't listen and it doesn't have that same kind of vibe. You're losing money essentially. Like if your home isn't set up like a model home, you're not gonna get a premium price.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's more than staging. It's really 100%. How can people live in a home?
Yeah.
How do they really see how it functions for them? And so we've been very intentional in the 2 model homes that we have to try to show different lifestyles. And make sure that the home really shows how you can live there and how you can make it your own.
Smart home features. We've only got 2 minutes left before the end of the show. But smart home features are another thing that I think you have the ability to control in a new construction opportunity that you don't as easily in a resale, because I'm sure those are offerings that you guys are having. The ability to make the home fully autonomous at this point we're heading in that direction where everything can be automated.
Correct. Yeah, we offer smart home features, smart thermostats, smart doorbells, garage door openers. We also allow, again, I mentioned our design center, but we also do work with an audio, video, and technology provider that you can customize everything. If you want sound systems, if you want other audio, video, and high-tech features, we have the ability to add that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I built my home 5 years ago and I did the same. I hired a company and did everything smart that I could, but it's amazing how much more has come out. And how much more you can control with your phone and what you can turn on and how you can automate things. And so even just in 5 years, the technology that I have is advanced to where now I'm having to make changes and upgrades and improvements to be able to optimize what I want to be able to do. Like things like, like I can control just about it. Like I can turn on the TV right now in my living room or turn on lights or lock. Not all of my doors are smart, like some of my patio and stuff isn't. But the things like, if I left the garage door open for more than 10 minutes, it automatically closes it. And there's so many things that you can program today. New construction is a great start because you get the ability to pick and design that from the beginning.
Right. And you can make sure the infrastructure is there to add to what you have over time and as technology changes, which is so critical and often the biggest cost when you make those repairs on a resale home.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, anyway, Kelli, we've appreciated you coming on. Make sure to check out Vivere in Valrico, Onyx+East new development. If you're thinking about selling your home, you want a free home value estimate, you want an instant cash offer, whatever that is, just go to duncanduo.com. You can go through our home selling journey, type in your address. It gives you an automated valuation. Our team will reach out and customize that valuation for you. So we add the human element to the process where all of the online-based sites don't add that. So we can customize it, determine what the features are of your home so you can get the most accurate home value estimate available. Again, you can do that at duncanduo.com. And we hope you have an awesome rest of your Sunday, Tampa Bay. Thanks for tuning in.
Perfect. Great. Awesome.